So what is going on, guys? It's your boy Nistro here, and we are back. I know in the hand trap video I said I was going to do some test hands, and so what I have here is my Goblin Biker deck. It's pretty much going to be the same deck list, except I'm going to show you guys something a little different with the side deck. And I have here a pile of a bunch of different hand traps. So we have our high impact hand traps, Fuelos Perulia, Nib Shifter Droll, and then we have our low impact hand traps, Dominuses, we have Imperm, Ghost Girls, and then we have Veiler and Bestials. When we're worrying about hand traps, I believe these are all the relevant hand traps for this format. I don't believe you're going to see like Phantasme. I don't believe like you're going to see some of the more niche hand traps. I think like this is like relatively what you should expect for the format. I guess Saunier should be here too, because it's going to be mostly Malice on these. Fiendsmith, Kashtira, and Voiceless are going to be on Purge, Malice, and if you run into any Rogue Rescue Ace or Fire King players still, because Fire King is still out there, they're going to be on Impulse. Imperm is a staple. More people, I'm starting to see more people on these three Ghost Girls, the Belle, Ghost Mourner, and Ghost Ogre. We're going to go through some test hands with Goblin Bikers, and I'm just going to shuffle these cards together and just see what hand traps can be opened. Obviously, if it's something like Shifter plus Droll or Veiler, then I'll reshuffle the hand because those hand traps don't work together. Or like Shifter plus any Bestial, because those usually wouldn't be in the same deck. Well, I guess Malice would play both of them one day, so maybe. So this is Lucas Sacco's first place Ryziel Fiendsmith list from Omaha Regional, and the reason why I wanted to look at this list real quickly was just to show you guys the math, what you should be expecting in terms of hand traps. And as you can see, Ryziel takes up the first 10 slots here. Now some of the engine is down here, like Tract and Bonfire. If you count only the non-engine, he's essentially on 19 hand traps in main, with the potential to side in up to 6 more with Called By, Triple Tack, Feather Duster, Ultimate Slayer. So I figured that I was just going to use the main deck as an example here. 19 hand traps that we could run into, which means that it's a very high probability. It's almost guaranteed that he's going to see at least one hand trap in his opening hand. So into the Ryziel matchup, you should at least be expecting one hand trap. Even with 2 hand traps, it's an 80% chance that's almost hyper consistently drawing 2 hand traps. And then when we're looking at 3, even though it's not that likely, it's basically a coin flip that he'll draw that 3rd hand trap compared to not having it at all. It's a pretty decent chance. I'm gonna work with the fact that like 2 is almost hyper consistent, and that you're guaranteed to see at least 2 hand traps in your opponent's opening hand if you're going up against Ryziel, which is gonna be some of the biggest decks in the format. Malice isn't as offensive when it comes to hand traps. So Malice may have more of their hand traps sided, like their Shifter, their Nib, Bestials, and such, but we're seeing 8 hand traps in main and maybe about 7 or 8 more slots for non-engine. So that's only going to give them about 15. If we plug that in, it's a 63% chance to see 2 non-engine, which is still in their favor that they're going to see it, but it's most likely that they're only going to see 1 hand trap if they see any, and that they're going to have to side in game 2, game 3 to put in more of their hand traps in. So against Malice, you may not need to worry about hand traps as much, but Malice has a bunch of different builds. There's like a Kashtira build, there's a Fiendsmith build. They're playing about 13 non-engine slots here, so with Lancia sided in, the fact that Malice is playing Lancia is hilarious. So 13, they're going to consistently see 1. That's about hyper consistent. 2 is about a coin flip though, so it's really like either they do or they don't. This may or may not happen, I don't know. Expecting anything more than 2 out of Malice would be a bit of a reach. Expecting more than 2 hand traps out of Ryziel is very normal though. If Lucas Sacco sided in all of his cards, he'd have a better chance of seeing 3 hand traps than Malice would have of seeing 2, which is actually insane. I just wanted to put that out there as a little PSA before we got started with the testing, or the test hands, because I just wanted to show you guys like how many hand traps should you be expecting into most of these meta matchups. And it's going to be two hand traps. I think if you can play through 2 hand traps comfortably, then you should be able to navigate through a lot of things in the format. Sometimes playing through 3 hand traps, if your opponent gets really sacky on you, then sometimes it's just ridiculous how much you may have to deal with to break through your opponent's board. But 3 hand traps means, 3 hand traps means that only means that they get to work with only 3 cards to start their turn. And if it's Ryzeal, as long as you can play through like an aggregator, I think you should be fine. So what I have here, the Chainlink TCG deck box. I know I've been shilling them recently. I shilled them in my last IRL video with the one card combos. Still got the Fiendsmith Field Center here, main deck, side, and extra. I'm gonna leave this side deck here as like a little secret. Let's get started. So I need to power shuffle my deck. Right now, I have a relatively similar list to my IRL list because I had a few more hand traps into my main deck. Had a few extra cards. I think I should be doing fine in terms of consistency. All right, let's get started. Now, normally you don't know what's in your opponent's opening hand. If we were just to take this pile of low impact and high impact hand traps, shuffle and draw any two of them, Shifter plus Impulse. Okay, that's interesting. It's a good way to start our turn. Now, Shifter usually requires you to play the Grand Crisis as a side-in, but let's just say that we're not. Open our 5 cards. We did happen to draw the Grand Entrance, and we do have Taka Tomborg here, so this will be a good extender if we summon Boomlock off of Gone Wild. So I think that's what we're going to do, right? So we're going to get Shiftered, and then we're going to go Grand Entrance here. If we're worried, if we knew the Impulse was in the hand, I guess we would go straight for Gabanga, but with only knowing the Shifter, you do still go into Gone Wild here. And when you attempt to use Gone Wild's effect, they might want to Impulse you, they might not. It's really personal preference for them, because we would kind of be screwed with this hand, because we would want to go into Doug Charger or into to be able to search Breakout, or right, we would want to go Boomlock to go into Taka Tomborg, go into Gabanga, to go for Doug Charger. And the best thing that we can do here is, again, like before, go for the Grand Crisis play if you're playing it. If not, you're gonna go into Breakout and Breakout, banish for the Merciless, and overlay for Gossip Shadow. So that would be the best thing you can do through the Shifter. Gone Wild can attach, and then that is actually already 5 Goblin Bikers. So if it is kind of tough that we couldn't get the Doug Charger to grab the Grand Crisis, but again, that's what the side deck's for. So if you know you're going into a Shifter deck, you should definitely put in the Grand Crisis, because that's really the only way that you can play through Shifter effectively. Otherwise, it's like our goal would be to go for like something like this and then go for Yama into Rage. The only issue was that Taka Tomborg was our extender instead of Terratop. And if Terratop was our extender here, then we would have been able to play through this a lot better. But unfortunately, kind of just got a full. But I mean, Engraver would have been great there if it was Impulse plus anything else. But that was definitely a really hard hand to play through. Malice definitely would have gotten that win right there. So now, shuffled our deck, shuffled our third hand. Let's see, Foxy Tune, Lurie, Taka Tomborg, Doug, and Etelly. We're gonna see Abyssial plus Ghost Ogre. So in any hand like this, and I mean this is a good case for playing Nian Nian, because this would be an instant Nian Nian right here. We also don't need Lurie, so I guess I would start with the Etelly. Or no, I guess to play around Molcharmy better, because if I just start Etelly, then I get to +1 off Molcharmy, versus if I start with Doug Charger and then I search Breakout, it's going to be a lot easier, or I get to play through Molcharmy a lot easier. And since Breakout contribute any monster, I'm not as worried like if I go into, let's say, Gossip Shadow first, and then use an extender like Taka Tomborg to make my Gabanga. So the question is, should they Ghost Ogre us here? I think the answer is no, because it doesn't really make sense to Ghost Ogre Doug Charger if you've seen the Breakout. You can argue, because in Goblin Biker, stopping the normal summon is usually the play, or the play that you want to use a low impact hand trap on. So if you stop the normal summon in Goblin Biker, more often than not, if I don't draw something like Etelly, which I also drew Foxy Tune, but if I don't draw something like Etelly, I'm usually screwed if you stop the normal summon. So stopping the normal summon is not a bad idea, but it's also not a great one. I think Ghost Ogre is better saved for like a Gabanga or something of that nature, so that you can stop the Doug Charger summon from hand. In this scenario, it's kind of tough, because Goblin Biker is like kind of a weird deck. You're not too sure about when you should stop things, and using a Ghost Ogre on a Doug Charger just seems relatively weak. I'm gonna start with the Etelly here, and that would be checking for the Molcharmy, which is not here. Or I guess Breakout, no. Breakout makes more sense. Because we have E-Telly plus Foxy Tune, so even if we get nibbed or something, or stopped on our Gone Wild here, then we still get to make a play. So we check for the Molcharmy, right? So there's no Droll, no Molcharmy, because everybody used it already. We go for Clatter. Clatter, bring back Doug. Since I have multiple extenders in my hand, it's okay for us to make the Gossip Shadow here, because this is summon number 4. So if I've seen no other hand trap, no impulse, no perm, no Molcharmy, then Nibiru is going to be my next guess. And since I have enough gas in my hand, I can just make the number 75 to protect my plays before going for the Molcharmy. You could also preemptively Fiendsmith combo to go into Wave High King Caesar, and then recycle the Moon, and then summon a Moon again, go into Desiree. This just creates a safer line of play for us, because if I try to go into Fiendsmith combo and they were to hit us with a Nibiru, I would be less safe than if I just went with this. Because if I open, like, let's say, like Terror Top, and it doesn't use my normal summon, then that would have been fine. But I've already used my normal summon, so I don't want to risk too much if my normal summon's already used. But if I didn't use my normal summon, I think going for Fiendsmith combo is fine. So from this point, to use E-Telly, they're going to see the Xiamen. Sadly, I can't pay 600 because I don't play any other cards other than Xiami and Foxy Tune. So they're going to know I have Foxy Tune in my hand, which is tragic, but it kind of just is what it is. At least I don't pay 600. And I'm going to use Foxy Tune, right? If there's no Ash Blossom, which there wouldn't be by this point, we can go for drop Luri, summon out Xiamen number 2. At this point, Gabanga is fine. Summon Gabanga, activate Gabanga's effect. So we already used Clatter, we already used Gone Wild, we already used Doug. Gabanga here goes for... This is again where I would say Ghost Ogre would probably shine the best by getting rid of Gabanga. That's assuming that they don't know that we're on Fiendsmith, but I guess at this point, it wouldn't really matter if they hit the Gabanga with Ghost Ogre, because we'd still get the search at the very least. Since there's no way to summon Mean Merciless from hand, the best thing I could think of is just go for the Boomlock. There's nothing else I could think of, really. And then that also helps insulate the Takatomborg. If they did hit us with the Ghost Ogre here on the Gabanga, let's say, then we go Takatomborg since we control Gossip Shadow, and at that point we just go Fiendsmith. Moon, Requiem, Lacrima, Engraver. There's really not much else we can do here other than resolve Engraver. I guess the question is, we already seen one hand trap, right? So we already saw Ghost Ogre. If I were to attempt to use Requiem here, equipped to the Lacrima, would he Druis Worm the Requiem or would he Druis Worm the Engraver? My mind's telling me that Druis Worm on the Engraver makes way more sense. But if I Requiem equip Lacrima and I go for Necro equip, then I can't make the sequence. So what my mind's telling me is that I should attempt to resolve Engraver, and then I get hit with the Bestial. At this point, they've used 2 hand traps from hand, and I think it's okay to use 75 here. I think it's okay to use 75 to protect the Druis Worm. So we draw one, and let's just say for the sake of argument that they draw a card. Oh my god, they drew another Bestial. That's actually hilarious. It's not going to be extremely useful here for them. But what Druis Worm is still in their hand, and then let's say they have Magnamut now. I kind of want to go Caesar since I'm seeing that they're on Bestials. So at this point, I think I attempt to Requiem equip to the Lacrima, and I get hit with the Magnamut. And at that point, I can't do anything about Magnamut. Magnamut's resolving, they're getting their Bestial on end phase. But it's not the end of the world. So, now that Gossip Shadow has used its 2 materials, we get to go Exceed Armor Fortress, detach. Because at this point, there's no point of playing around in Nibiru. We're already way too deep into our combo to not lose to Nibiru, so there's no point of playing around it anymore. We're going to go for the FAX, and since we have Boomlock, we need an Exceed material, which we can get with our Dark Knight Lancer. I think maybe I should have went for Dark Knight Lancer first. Actually, no, he didn't have a monster on field. So yeah, that wouldn't have made sense. Requiem is banished. Having Requiem out of rotation is actually very impactful, because that actually hurts the grind game a lot if they Bestial out our Requiem. But I guess what I have to do now is detach, summon Boom, and make... Oh, wait a minute. Oh, I do have that Luri actually. Hold on, let's go. I was going to say I can't resolve Aerial Leader, but I actually can. So I go sequence, and we can put back Lacrima plus Luri to make Aerial Leader, An Area Leader can actually mill Mean Merciless here. Ooh, okay. I'm kind of liking where this is going. So the question is, do we make Crazy Beast or do we make... Because Area Leader won't be able to summon itself back. Because we don't have Necroquip in Graveyard, and we only have one Engraver, so Area Leader won't be able to revive itself. So we might as well go Yama. Yama summon, search Shavara, link these two into Rage. Shavara pop Rage. Rage trigger, bring us back. We don't even care about Engraver much. I think it's okay if we bring back Gone Wild. Oh, you know what? We can add Gone Wild to hand, and then summon out Engraver here. Because, hear me out. We get to go Link off. I mean, not Link, Exceed. I think we make Crazy Beast. We have nothing to link Crazy Beast into. Let's say we go Mean Merciless, detaching, Shavara, summon, effect, summon, and then Shavara is gonna set the chamber. It's like, we can't really do much with this FAX because our Requiem's banished. We need access to another level 6 monster. That's our biggest issue. This is tough. This is really tough. This is putting me in an awkward situation. I mean, relatively, because we need to be able to resolve this. That's what I care about the most, is being able to resolve the FAX. Maybe we don't even overlay during our turn. No, but if we don't overlay on our turn, on end phase, they search with Magnamut, and then they get to banish our Soul of Rage with a Bestial. So we have to overlay on our turn. So what Fiend should I bring back to hand? Yeah, I think we have to go Caesar. I don't even think it's a choice. The issue being that if we go for Caesar, then we don't get the ability to utilize FAX. If we preemptively go for Caesar, we can't utilize FAX. We can't go revive Area Leader with its own effect. Because you would have summon this. No, but we would need a third level 6. So if we don't send Shavara, then we don't have access to Chamber. Oh, here's something we can do. Equip sequence to Engraver. Lancer effect steal. Aw, shit. There you go. That makes it a little easier. Because now I have an Exceed material. To utilize. I can't resolve FAX because I don't have any more rank 30s. Hold on. We're getting there. Let's say I send... Because I have to send a Fiend. One monster equipped with a monster card plus one Fiend monster. This equips to... This only equips to Light Fiends, so I can't send Shavara plus Sequence. Nothing that discards FAX either. This is really tough. This is... I'm trying to see... Because I feel like that was a good play right there. But what can I do about getting rid of this? Or being able to play around this Bestial that they added at the end of the... Because I need Chamber, and I need Area Leader, because I'd essentially have to go this. I'm gonna go Necroquip. Oh wait, no, that works, right? Because now I can go Crazy Beast, and then Crazy Beast can detach to attach FAX, and then yeah, if we added the Gone Wild to hand, then we get to go Sequence. Then we get to go Mean Merciless, detach, summon, and I no longer have... Oh wait, yeah, no, actually that doesn't work. Fuck. Yeah, 2 level 6 or higher fiends with the same attribute. We can... Here's what we can do. We can link off Crazy Beast plus Gone Wild. Go into Moon one more time. Well, shit, if we go Moon here, we can't go... I mean, we have Droplet, actually, so we should be fine. If we go Moon here, we can't go into... I was gonna say we can't go SP, but it's actually fine. We have... Yeah, that would be our issue, is that we need a way to send Necroquip to Graveyard and keep Shavara on field. So, alright. Instead of going Crazy Beast. I know this is major cope, but we need to find a line. I think it's okay that we do that. I think it's okay that we add Gone Wild to hand. And we have Mean Merciless in Graveyard. We got the Necroquip. What I think we do, maybe Mean Merciless detach from Dark Knight instead, and then summon this. Ah, yeah, now we make the Moon, and we have Chamber since Shavara was sent to Grave, and we have Wave High. With only 2 materials. And Mean Merciless gets banished because we use its effect. I think that's how we have to do it, because there's no way to make Mean Merciless level 6. And I guess we can Droplet send FAX. We could Droplet send Moon plus FAX on our opponent's turn. That's going to have to be the play. So that'll be 1, 2 with Dark Knight, and then 3, 4 with Caesar, and then Chamber. I can worry about saving... Yeah, I can worry about saving our Clatter for when it's better for us to resolve it. But I think this is like the best case scenario. So through Ghost Ogre, Druid Worm, and Magnamut, we were able to get 1, 3, 6 interruptions, and then Droplet. That would be it. Which Droplet can negate up to 2 cards, which should be fine. I mean, this doesn't target, and Rage should do pretty decent damage to the opponent. So, and they used only the Ghost Ogre from hand. Druid Worm is still in there, and Magnamut is in the graveyard now. So Druid Worm is actually still in their hand. Ghost Ogre is in their graveyard, and they get to add a Bestial on end phase. So let's say they go for like Baldrake or something. So they're going to be able to burn through both of our Caesar's materials really quickly, but that if they do that preemptively, then both of them are just going to get destroyed. And Druid Worm only resolves if it's sent from field to graveyard. So they would lose 2 cards from hand, meaning essentially they would only have 3 cards to work with, if my math is mathing. Because it's these 2 plus 3, trade out, or it was these 2 actually. It was these 2 plus 3, trade out Druid Worm, and then give them a draw. So now they're at 6 cards. So -1, so that back down to 5. End phase, they get to go Baldrake, puts them at 6, and then draw fade. So that was intense. Being able to equip the sequence to the Engraver while Dark Knight was on the field gave us the material that we needed to summon back our Mean Merciless, and then special summon out the Gone Wild that we added back to hand using a Soul of Rage's effect. And that pretty much allowed us the 1 Exceed material that we needed, because I didn't want to make Caesar with only 1 material, or I didn't want to nab a material off of Caesar because he's too important, because he pretty much makes sure that this resolves. If they preemptively Bestial us and try to hit target the Rage, then we go Chamber to play around the Bestial, and then they try to use the second one, then we use Caesar. So they need to wait until we resolve Chamber to use either one of those cards. So there are 2 cards in their hand that, like, either they can burn through our negates really quickly, or we can just chain Chamber to whatever. So we should be fine. I mean, like, relatively. I think relatively we should be fine. But we used 12 of the cards out of our extra deck in an attempt to play around a Ghost Ogre. So that's why Ghost Ogre on Gabonga was actually like one of the best things that they could have done, because it made our field really awkward using Gossip Shadow when we did, which was like, okay, we gave them access to another hand trap, but because it was another Bestial, we were able to keep playing. And assuming that it was like Ghost Ogre plus Bestial, it's probably Malice, meaning that giving them the draw, they're probably not going to draw into another hand trap, but you never know. And what was the draw? Well, the other draw was a Fact Veiler, but they were drawing that for turn. Shuffle deck, get our 5 cards, Graver, Entrance. Okay, I don't mind. This is really good, in my opinion. In my professional opinion, this is a really good hand. Let's see. Droll? Oh, fuck. Impulse. That's weird that you'd have those in the same deck, but I don't judge, alright? So as I was saying in the hand trap video, we go for Grand Entrance first to see if they have the Droll. And at this point they do. They do have the Droll. So we would normal summon 1 Mr. Gone Wild. And we're probably going to get hit with the Impulse. Probably. I think they should, as I said, they should always hit the normal summon, because if they wait until we do anything else, they're going to be putting themselves at too much risk. At this point, we just set Droplet and pass. We just set Droplet and pass, and we kind of just hope for the best, because Droll plus Impulse is kind of crazy. They only have 4 cards to work with. I think with Droplet, we could send 1. I think we could send Chamber. I don't want to send Engraver, definitely not. And Ziaman's a good normal summon for next turn, so I think we just send Chamber with Droplet, and then we just hope for the best. I mean, it's like a weaker Imperm, essentially. But if I can't think of any deck that's going to play both Droll and Impulse, maybe besides Malice. And stopping their normal summon, I know it's not going to give them, like, the hardest trouble, but I think it should be good enough. Let's see what we draw for turn. And we get E-Telly for turn. I mean, even if our field was cleared, I think we should be able to take it. I don't know. With, like, Engraver plus... Let's say they have 1 more hand trap. What is it? Okay. Let's say they have Imperm. I mean, this through Imperm should be fine, right? Like, follow-up turn. Let's say they weren't able to make a board because of Droplet, because we're good at the game. I'm going to start with Engraver, just to see if I need to worry about Droll, which looks like I don't have to. So we get Tracked. So we're going to play with Tracked. I'm not going to use my normal summon yet. I'll play with Tract first. Go for Lurie. Lurie effects. This makes their imperm very awkward because there's no point in imperming the Lacrima because we already have a Fiendsmith engraved. I mean, they can if they really want to, but it's not going to do anything for them. My goal here is to make a Caesar before I keep playing, or to make a Desiree, depending on if they have sets. If they have sets, then I guess my goal is Desiree. So let's say that Imperm is a set card, right? So my goal here would be to make Desiree. So I'm going to not even resolve Requiem. I'm just going to go straight for Fiendsmith, put back Lurie. Then I'm going to link the two, and that'll give us Sequence. And then we attempt to resolve Sequence. And Sequence is not cost. So if they Imperm Sequence, it's like, okay, cool. Then we normal Xiamen, Itelli. Well, we pay 6, but because we have no other cards in hand, I'm just going to Itelli for Wielder, since I don't want to use the second Xiamen. If you play Ghost Ogre, you could also summon Ghost Ogre here, but this is just to not have to discard Itelli for Foxy Tune and to have Foxy Tune as follow-up, or in case I need an extra body. So Gabanga into Doug. Doug summon, detach. If they have any monsters getting swallowed. And then at this point, I want to go Clatter, because Clatter makes... Yeah, I think I can go... I don't want to go Entrance, because Entrance is already in Graveyard. I think I can go Breakout. Should I tribute Sequence? Let me see. How many zones would I need just to preemptively map this out? So I'm going to need a zone for Gone Wild. Gone Wild's going to summon Clatter, and then Clatter's going to need a zone for Gone Wild number 2. I should be fine, right? Because that's 5 monsters. We can tribute Sequence. Because I guess the argument for tributing Doug over Sequence here would be that we can go into the Unchained line if we keep Sequence. So I guess tributing Doug would be... So I guess I'd want to summon Clatter here and Gone Wild here. And actually, yeah. So I think I'm going to tribute Doug. We're going to overlay both our Gone Wilds into Crazy Beast. If they have any spells and traps, we're going to swallow. Let's say that they do. They have whatever, right? Whatever field spell, continuous spell that they left on the field. And then we're just allowed to make Yama. Yama gets Shavara because we haven't used Shavara yet. I know our chambers in the... Do we have FAX? Oh, as a matter of fact, instead of using Crazy Beast to attach one of their spells and traps, if it's just a continuous spell or trap, we can go Fortress and then attach the FAX. They grab the FAX and then attach it to Crazy Beast by detaching the last of his materials, so he can be used for a overlay this turn. That's a lot better, actually. So that gets FAX into the graveyard, and then we have Yama, and yeah, we already used Breakout. So we should have the demo TK on top of, like, we have the ability to bring back Crazy Beast. We have the ability to detach the Fortress when we go for one Mr. Dark Knight by resolving Grand Entrance. And we could add back Doug. Sure. No, we already used Doug's from hand. So I guess it doesn't matter who we add back. We can add back Doug. I think it's fine. We're going to discard him anyway. So then we can go summon back Crazy Beast by attaching Gone Wild. And this is only during main phase. I think this should be game though, because we have enough damage on board to swing per game, so we should be alright from there. Why can't we get like a normal like nib imperm? Why are we getting all these like complex fucking low impact hand traps and mixed in? So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Wow, this is actually one. We lose to one hand trap. It doesn't matter what hand trap it is. We lose to one of it. Oh yeah, imperm. That's gonna do it. We want to go entrance here. We're gonna entrance for Gone Wild. We're gonna normal summon out the Gone Wild. It's gonna get hit with imperm. We pass turn. Again, you always hit the normal summon, but we have 2 hand traps in hand. This is kind of an extender, and this is kind of a soft brick, so you kind of don't want to open this. This is why we only play this at 2, because we don't mind seeing it, but we'd rather see Engraver, we'd rather see Terror Top, we'd rather see a bunch of other things other than Doug Charger. But it's not terrible to open, because if we get to Gabanga and we have either Entrance or Doug Charger in our hand, then we get to punish them if they imperm the Gabanga instead of imperming our normal summon, or stopping our normal summon. If they draw for turn, let's say Droll plus Ash is able to stop them, and then we get to play again. Look at that. The second time we drew this thing instead of Terratop. It's kind of crazy, isn't it? So we can normal summon out Doug. We're not going to Ghost Ogre. Ghost Ogre should be safe for Gabanga, I think. That should be the rule of thumb. We're not going to go Entrance. We have to go Breakout. Breakout. It doesn't really matter who we summon here. I guess you want to break out the Gone Wild, since we'll be able to summon out Clatter and then revive the Gone Wild. So we summon out Mean effect, summon out Clatter effect, target Gone Wild. At this point, they have the option to Bestial us. Should they? Honestly, if they don't know that we're on Fiendsmith, that wouldn't be a bad Bestial, because that would mean that, like, I don't get 2 extra bodies. But if they know that we're on Fiendsmith, they should not Bestial this. Let's assume that they don't know, and they get Magnum up onto the field with its effect on end phase, so we can banish this Gone Wild. We do still have a pretty good situation here. We can overlay Mean Merciless plus Doug to make Mr. Gabanga. Gabanga can add the Boommock since we have Takatomborg in hand. And since we have Breakout here, I think we should be okay. Ghost Ogre on the Gabanga. Yeah, I almost forgot. Huh. That actually really... Yeah, because from this point it doesn't really matter what we search. Because, yeah, now that means... Because we drew this thing instead of fucking Terratop, I mean, Terratop would have been a way better normal summon overlay into Gabanga. But I guess we would have been screwed either way, because the Ghost Ogre on Gabanga is actually kind of nuts. So yeah, you're not going to beat hand traps every time, but like even through a 2-turn scenario, because there's like no way that we're... Assuming that they can't game us, we have one more line of play, and then we're kind of just screwed from there. I mean, we could make Fiendsmith combo turn 3, but I mean turn 5, that's not even turn 3. I'm not making it through that. Like, if that were a real game, I probably wouldn't scoop, but it's going to take too much time to theory out. And it all depends on the deck that we're playing, because I could have lost like 2 turns ago, if we're being real. Or I should have lost all those turns ago. Okay. A little better for us if we get stopped. Oh shit. Throw plus Chummy, that doesn't make sense. Which one would they use, I guess, is the question. Let's just reshuffle. I don't want to have to choose between picking Chummy or Droll, because both of them make sense, in theory. And I always go Gone Wild. Oh, Purge plus Perulia. Okay, this makes a little more sense. They will resolve Perulia before we even do a normal summon, which we can't really do anything about. Drawing both of these when we get Perulia is actually kind of crazy. So we're going to go Entrance. We're going to grab Gone Wild. We're going to get to draw 1. Please don't be Imperm. Oh, it's a Bestial. Cool. Dude, we see You know what? And that's actually the fucking Magnemite effect. Well, they can't Magnemite us under fucking Purge anyway. Unless they Magnum at first, but that's so unoptimal. Okay, Mourner. That makes more sense. So, Gone Wild. Let's do Summon of Mean Merciless. And at that point, they can Mourner the Mean Merciless. But I guess they wouldn't want to Mourner because then they would get a draw. So I guess they should just let me summon here. Right, and then let's say the draw is no longer a hand trap, because dealing with 3 is actually kind of crazy. Yeah, I guess it does make more sense to Mourner on... Oh wait, so we summon Doug. Doug gets to search, and are they going to hit the Doug? I think they are. I think hitting the Doug with a Mourner makes more sense. I would personally hold back the Purge, simply because Purge would give too much of my deck away. Like, once I see Purge, I know I'm not dealing with Ryzeal. I know I'm not dealing with Malice. I know it might be giving me, as the opponent, too much information if a Purge is resolved too early. I think holding off on the Purge and just using Mourner here makes more sense. And then, I mean, I guess the Purge is going to be used anyway. To go Gabanga, attempt to search, hit it with a Purge, which is fine. At this point, we go Fortress, detach, add FAX. Honestly, it's kind of rough that was a Ghost Mortar and not a fucking Imperm, because now Gabanga's still on field. So now we have Mean Merciless as an extender. We do have Boommock, but do we want them to draw another card? Because they used 3 cards from hand, but they drew 2 already. So I can't let them draw anymore. If there's a way to discard this, that would be great. Let's go Mean Merciless, detach, Gabong, summon. I guess we could link these 2 off for... I wonder if I should go straight into Yama or if I should go into Moon. I think straight into Yama makes more... No, I think Moon makes more sense. So Moon, Requiem, Lacrima, Braver. I could give them one more draw with Boommock and then basically give myself like a way stronger end piece or end board, because they already discarded 3 cards and they drew 2, so they're back to 5 cards. So I mean, let's see. What would, like, if I were to do this now, I would go for what, Caesar? But then I can't go for... Dude, I've just stopped making Desiree in like so many games just because the Unchained engine does not, and Desiree like do not mix well. I can't say they don't mix well, but it's like you're so incentivized to use Unchained. Yeah, going for Desiree like has to be for like game 2, game 3, because going for Desiree here makes sense. But I also like really want to go for the Unchained stuff because it's just too many interruptions. Like I'm trading 1 interaction with Desiree for 3 interactions with Soul of Rage, and it's like I think I can go Caesar. Yeah, like Caesar plus the Soul of Rage is just so many more interactions. Plus I keep Requiem in graveyard, meaning I could potentially go for FAX next turn. I mean, I can go for FAX next turn if I really wanted to. Yeah, and then I could add Engraver back to hand, drop Engraver, add Tract, and then Tract drop Boomlock. Then just add like, well, Lacrima's already in graveyard. Oh no, she's right here. I think I want to go... Well, I do have this Nib in my hand. Maybe I shouldn't commit too much to the field, so I could let them play into Nib. Just hit them with the sickest FAX. Like Crazy Beast into FAX. That could be a thing too. But then that would significantly lower the number of interruptions I can make. I guess I go... Since I know they can't use Bystials anymore, and I know they are probably not on Ryzeal either, should we still make Caesar or Desiree? If they're on Voiceless, like Caesar and Crazy Beast are kind of insane. Motherfucking Dark Knight's insane against Voiceless. Same thing against Melodious. Crazy Beast is insane against Melodious. So there's really no like downside of picking the wrong or choosing the wrong rank 6, because there is no wrong rank 6. Both of these are pretty good into any matchup that would play those 2 cards. I guess against Kashtira, I'd want Crazy Beast a little more. Unless it's... Well, if it's Cash Fiendsmith, then I guess Caesar is better. Desiree would be the best, though, against Kashtira, because then you get to negate, like, the Unicorn and something else at once if they try to, like, combo you. And then they don't get to banish from your extra deck. So Desiree would be better against Kashtira. And it's really, like, anyone's game if I pick Caesar or Crazy Beast into Voiceless or into Melodious. If it's another Fiendsmith deck, I'm going to want Caesar. I guess my brain would be, it's more likely that they're on some sort of Fiendsmith Kashtira, since they have so much space for a non-engine, like they drew 3 hand traps. So I'm going to go for the High King Caesar this time, and just, you know, use the FAX to go Dark Knight. So yeah, Engraver, put back Moon, summon, Requiem, equip to Lacrima, send both for Necro equip, and then overlay both into Caesar. I guess I can turn Fortress into Dark Knight, then FEX wouldn't be doing anything. Is that alright? Is that alright if I... Or how about this? I just do this, and then... So I can add the Bonga back, or add Doug Charger, actually. Doug Charger would be more important here, because I don't have follow-up without him. And then next turn, you know, FAX into Fortress into Dark Knight. 2, 3, and then 4 more interruptions. They still have like a full hand of cards, so maybe I should go for the Unchained line, because the Unchained line still ends on Caesar, actually. So yeah, I'm gonna go for the Unchained line when I hit that. So I'm gonna hit Sequence up instead, and I might use him as a link material. So we'll see. So we're gonna go Sequence here. Sequence shuffled back. Lacrima plus Requiem. Make Area Leader. Area Leader at this point. We do still go Necroquip though, just so we can banish Necroquip plus this, and then Area Leader can mill. We already have Mean Merciless in rotation. There's really nobody else to mill. You can mill the Shavara, just so it's easier to get the chamber, actually. You can always just mill Shavara so that you don't have to detach from whatever you summon. Make your life a little easier. 2 into Yama, add back the Shavara. Oh, that's why. Because if we do this, they are going to draw one more card, I guess. Rage Shavara, Yama, bring back Engraver, and then Rage, bring back, I think Gonmod's fine to bring back, and just overlay into Caesar. So that'll be a way better end board there. Because now, that's, and yeah, they do get to draw one more. Oh shit, it's Ghost Bell. So yeah, we are not getting the Chamber. I mean, they could Ghost Bell to stop us from being able to Caesar. That is also a possibility. Yeah, actually, I should have checked the card that they drew when I summoned out the Shavar. But I could chain block the Yama actually with the Rage. So I should still be able to special summon back the monster from the graveyard. It's just I won't be able to get the Chamber off because they drew Ghost Bell, which is unfortunate. I mean, if we're being real, and I didn't play through Ghost Bell, and let's say they Ghost Belled my ability to summon back a monster from the graveyard, then I just go Air Leader, banish 1, banish 2, and it could still summon back, and then they could still go 4. But that's like best case scenario. That's assuming that I didn't play around Ghost Bell. Did the summon Chainlink 1 the add back Chainlink 2, the summon Chainlink 1. I mean, the add back Chainlink 1, the summon Chainlink 2, in case I didn't like that. And then we do still have Nibiru for worst case scenario. They have what? Because they drew 1, they dropped 1. That's gonna be. We let them draw 3 cards, right? Because we summoned Shavara plus Gone Wild plus Doug. And those were our only 3 summons from hand. So they drew 3, they discarded 3, plus 1 more. So they're still going to be at 6 cards. But we're at a large number of negates that we're dealing with. That we have on field here. This deck's tough. This deck's really hard. Let's do 5 cards. This is already pretty good. This is already, I think, the best hand that we've opened today. And it's Perulia plus Moonlit. So they draw Perulia. We're going to go Terratop. Isn't this just the exact same fucking... Hold on. I didn't shuffle this shit. Exact same fucking hand traps. Which, I mean, we would have played a lot better into that. But let's say... Okay, Droll Imperm. If we want to play around the Droll, we should resolve the entrance first. Because that plays around Droll better than any... So I guess even if we have Terratop, we should be resolving entrance first. It is starting to get dark outside because it is winter. We go... For 1, Mr. Gone Wild. We get rolled. Fine. We can still do Terratop here because we have Wielder. So if Terratop gets impermed, which I don't think it should, but I don't know, in case it does, we should be able to go for Takatomborg. I'm gonna be real, if they have they know we went for Gone Wild, so I think Imperm on the Gabanga is fine, because it'll get to add me 1. So they do Imperm on it. Actually, wait. Gabanga can't add anything. There's no point of Imperming on Gabanga. So I guess in that case, they're going to hold off on their Imperm because Gabanga can't activate anyway. You know, some Gone Wild. I guess that's a better Imperm right there. On the Gone Wild, which is fair. Top deck Boombox saved us here. It's a special summon. We can't go special summon out Wielder 2. I think we just Fiendsmith. Just Fiendsmith here. It's a little tough that we had to resolve Boomlock early. I think it's better than nothing. Boom. Requiem. It's also unfortunate because we're not going to have access to Clatter Splitter, Lacrima, Graver. Alright. Should we link off Gabanga? There's no point to keeping it on. Because, let's say we go Engraver here, put back Moon, then we go Caesar? Or do we go Gauntlet? We can't go Caesar, actually. We have to use Necroquip to make Caesar. Because otherwise... Or Necroquip to make this whatever it is. So this is our graveyard. I did already put back the 1 to summon out Engraver. So if you weren't playing the Unchained engine, you would pretty much just say like, link these 2 into Desiree, make these 2 into Caesar, and that would be your pass turn. Because we're on Unchained, I want to see how far we can get. Because we can't mill Clatter off of Aerial Leader. We can mill, let's just go Sequence, putting back Lacrima, and then Aerial Leader, mill the Shavara, so we play through Droll, set the Chamber, then Yama, bring back Shavara, and it's really tough because if we weren't under Droll, then we can get a draw off of Necroquip, but unfortunately, well, actually no, we can't because Track is in our hand, so actually it doesn't wouldn't have mattered. So we can use these 2 to make Rage, Shavara, pop Rage, add back There really is no one to add back. Summon. There really is no one to add back off of Rage. Like, I guess if we wanted to, we could recycle the Necro Quip to use in another turn, since we're only going to make Caesar here. But I feel like we could have went for a... Because it's either Caesar plus Gabanga or Caesar plus Chamber. Maybe I could mix a Crazy Beast into that. Because if I were to go, like when I had Yama, this in hand, these two on field just to cycle back. So let's say when that was... So we just milled Shavara. I think making Crazy Beast here does make sense. If we do it like this, don't have to bring back, or we don't need to banish for Alienator, I think. Let me just see. So Yama, add back Shavara. We can grant entrance, detach whatever, put Gabanga back in extra deck, and then link off these two. Rage. Yeah, and then I should be fine to just pop Rage, Yama banish to summon out Alienator, and then Rage, add back Necro Quip, and then summon Caesar, and then revive Crazy Beast with Gone Wild under him with his own effect. So we at least have the protection off of Crazy Beast, and yeah, that should be good. Okay, so Crazy Beast protection, or it could be a Swallow if you don't need both. If you don't need both Caesar materials, 5 or 6, or it's going to be 5, because it's going to be 1 if you need it, or 2 if you don't need it. So it's either 1 or 1, and then 3. But we used our entire hand. We did play through the draw pretty well. Now we have Engraver for follow-up, Engraver plus Sequence. I do wish we could have had FAX, because FAX could have made this a lot better. Because then we could have turned either one of these into Dark Knight once their Xyz materials were gone, and then we could have turned that to something else. But yeah, I mean, we could definitely make Desiree next turn, which seems to be a recurring pattern in this stuff. I'm even wondering, like, because if the extra deck space is so tight now, I'm wondering how I'm going to adjust the deck post Supreme Darkness, because going into Kick-Ass Goblin Bikers versus Crazy Beast is going to be a really hard choice for me, because it seems like both of them have their niches and I want to have both, but I can only play one pileup, and the Unchained Engine takes up so much space that, you know, I think to play both of them, I guess, would be a little too much of a call, or too much of a ask. I believe Crazy Beast, I need to read this again, because I know one of the effects is monsters only, and then one of the effects is also spells and traps. So Kick-Ass Goblin Bikers. The quick effect during your opponent's turn targets any cards, but it has to be equal to the number of Goblin Exceeds you control, or up to. And then you have to detach 3, which is crazy, and not going to work well with the Fiendsmith engine. If I'm ending on 2 or 3 Xyz materials at most, that's going to be awkward, but it should be fine. So yeah, a few people were asking for the list, and this one's going to be a little different than the one I showed in the last update. So the main deck's mostly the same: 3 Doug, 3 Entrance, 2 Gone Wild. You can have Doug at 2. It's really personal preference, and I think I just have it at 2, but I mean at 3, but you can definitely cut it down to 2. 1 of each. I think Boom Mock is cuttable here. I think I'm going to put in a second Clatter Splitter. I haven't gotten a second one yet. Now that I'm seeing a lot of lists, or the list that we're topping, we're playing 2 of these. I'm going to start playing 2 of these. I just need to find a second one. Double Breakout and 1 Pileup. Black Ass is in the way. Pileup does not have to be in the main deck. You can leave it in your side deck. But I do think the card should be in your list somewhere, just because it's Crazy Beast is too good, and Kick-Ass is going to be too good with this card too. So I feel like it's something that you should just keep around. So Fiendsmith line, Lacrima, Triple Engraver, Tract, Lurry, Shavara, Chamber, and I guess because it counts now, 1 Tour Guide. It's essentially just the engine that benefits the most out of hard opening Engraver. If you hard open Engraver, then you have a line that gets you all the way into Tour Guide. It helps you play through Droll. The Unchained stuff kind of helps you play through Shifter if you open certain Goblin cards. So that's why I really like having just the stuff in the list. I mean, obviously you're not going to go through the Shavara part of it when you don't have access to the graveyard, but I think just having the cards in the list gives it more versatility, gives it a little more strength, and I'm kind of liking where it's going so far. Need your Terratop, Takatomborg, Xiamen, Ploctatoon. These are cuttable if you want to play Nian instead. I just like having Eteli as a 1-card starter. I just think it gives you more versatility. Wielder is cuttable as well, just a fun extender to have, but we're well over 40, so if you don't need the extra card, you don't need the extra card. But this is way better when you only draw like Goblin cards, because sometimes you just don't draw the non-goblin extenders, and so this is like the best way to turn like a impermed dog charger into a Gabanga still, and then triple Telly just to round it off. The psychics, some people are playing Ghost Ogre in their lists, and I think Ghost Ogre is going to be a lot more popular this format, so yeah, just keep your E-Tellys around because they're going to be a lot more relevant pretty soon. FAX is engine requirement, and then non-engine, attack, droplet, and then you're going to see me do something a little weird with the hand traps here. When playing my hand traps this way, I'm at a perfect 50 cards. If I were to try to, you know, put more of one hand trap in, I have to cut some of one of my other hand traps out. So if I want to put more of these in, then I have to cut out like Nambra Droll, or even if you're cutting this, you're putting this in the side deck. Perulia is only good into Ryzeal, I think, at the moment, and into our deck as well sometimes when we don't draw Breakout. So I don't think we need Perulia if it's only to beat Ryzeal. I think Fulos is just better. It works better against, and it punishes Fiendsmith harder. Using Fulos when they go for the Requiem is like the best point, I think. So the deck's at 50 when you're at this, like you're at like 10 hand traps. The deck's at 52 if you do this. You need to play these. I don't think you can really play second without Droplet in the list. These you can play at 3 copies as well. I just like these going second more. It's like I want to see them some of the time, not all the time, and so I think 2 is the best number for this deck, because if you draw it going first, it can sometimes be good. If you draw it going second, it's usually pretty good. Nib is, you know, also decent if you draw into it with Fulos. Again, by increasing the number of any of these, you know, there were a few cards in the list I said that were cuttable, so you can do something more like this, which is a little better. But I don't believe you can go above 16 non-engine in this list. I think 15 is like the maximum, but I think 15 is what I'm playing, but I don't think you can go above 16 without, you know, ruining your deck size. So extra, yes, it's just one Gabanga. I know I have 2 QCRs and I'm only using one of them. It feels bad, but until either the Fiendsmith stuff is hit, or until I find a reason to not play more than one, especially in a like Fiendsmith and Unchained build, it's like I think 1 is just fine. It's really all that you need. If you need more than 1 Gabanga, it's like you're in some kind of like really tight grind game, and there's like nothing else your deck can do. Yeah, all of my ranks, these are all the Exceed monsters just in the deck. I'm not playing Typhon yet because I'm not fully convinced Typhon is going to help the deck in any matchup except for Ryzeal, and right now I know Terahertz exists, but they're going to get to mill Terahertz before you even go for Typhon, and they still get the D-Save Worm, and it's not going to change the fact that Terahertz is at like fucking an insane amount of attack. I mean, sure, you could bounce it, but like it's not going to win you the game against Terahertz. So I think I'd much rather pick like just the most effective Exceed monsters that I can think of, right? Gossip Shadow is mostly here to play through hand traps and to be like a good FAX on the opponent's turn if I can't make Dark Knight. Fiendsmith, Unchained, and then SP is your final one. Again, these are cuttable if you're not playing the Unchained engine. I mean, you don't need any of these if you're not playing Unchained engine. And your last 2 cards are Desiree and Necro. I have to do more testing, but I'm starting to not summon Desiree, which it's never as good as just going into Rage, because Rage just does so much more with less, or with the same amount of cards. So I always feel obligated to make the Rage over the Desiree. And then Necroquip, I almost cut it, but again, having a 1-card Caesar off of the line is just way too good. It is possible to make Caesar without, like, if you go Aerial Leader, but also Necroquip does help Aerial Leader as well, because it's a level 6 Dark Fiend, which you can banish to revive Aerial Leader in case you get stopped at a certain point. Yeah, and now for the side deck, which it's still a work in progress, but I figured I'd show you guys which cards I'm currently crafting or thinking of at the moment. So we have our thrusts, and then we have our thrust targets. Slayers, I think Slayer is good into everything, like every single matchup, other than Fiendsmith Kashtira, because Desiree is pretty much not going to be touched by Slayer, but everything else is going to be touched by Slayer, so I figured it's a just good card to have. Board Breakers, Dark Ruler, Lightning evenly. I guess without Zeus in the deck, Dark Ruler kind of isn't as strong, but it does still help us when we could like Gabanga Swallow, Gone Wild Swallow. And I don't know what deck I would play this into, maybe Kashtira as well, but yeah, that'll be it. And these are more back row hating, you know, lab and what may have you. I would dedicate more slots to it, but I just don't see space for that right now. And then lastly, D barrier for going first. If you get hit with too many hand traps, side in at thrust, and boom. I do want a Sanctum as well, because Sanctum would help me play through Malice, and that's also very important. So just imagine that a Sanctum's right here, but that's already 11 cards right there. But this isn't like a complete extra deck. I don't know if I need Ultimate Slayer at 3 or if I would just like Ultimate Slayer at 3. I'm still not entirely sure yet. So Crisis, this is for the shifter play. So if you get shiftered, Crisis is potentially a decent card to side in, or if you know you're going up against a shifter deck and you're going first, this could be a good side in. So cross out Lancia, Book of Moons. These are also targets I'm considering siding in, right? Lancia for Malice, Book of Moon because not Book of Moon, Book of Eclipse, because it does so well into everything that is not Malice that I'm figuring that it might just be, because if I'm worried so much about Fiendsmith Kashtira, I feel like this might be the best thing I can do against Cash, because Cash is really hard for this deck, especially since, you know, you guys saw I only have a single Gabanga. And then Aggregators here because I don't have space in the main for it if I were to play it. I don't think I'm going to, if I'm being real. I think I could find a way to, I think I could find an Exceed to send without playing this. I think maybe I send Exceed on Fortress, recycle it with the Dark Knight so that I could keep cycling it, or maybe I send Gabanga, recycle it with, but since I'm only on one Gabanga, that's not gonna work. Maybe I send Crazy Beast, recycle it with the Grand Entrance. That I think maybe that's what I do. But in case I just decide like it's not worth it to do that, I can also send Aggregator. I still haven't done much testing into the Ryzeal or Malice matchups yet. I had to craft, you know, these test hand and hand trap and anti-hand trap videos before I did that. I'm also not entirely objected to siding extra deck pieces. So Typhon, Zeus, Lars, and Full Armor Utopic Grey Lancer. At some point within like the past few months, other than Typhon, I have sided these two. Either this was in main and this was inside, or vice versa. Because when I was playing Silo Hat Rabbit and I was going second, I was always siding it out whenever I was going second, so I could take out the potential soft break of opening the Angel statue and either get me an OTK card or get me a board wipe into my extra deck, so that I have a reason, so that I can break less and I have a more versatile extra deck and more ways to break through the opponent's board going second. I'm not objected to siding these pieces or to putting these into the side deck at some point, but I need like solid evidence that these would be worth it before I went ahead and did that, because that might not even be the best course of action for me, depending on how the format goes. If I test into Malice and I feel like I'm missing any of these cards, or mostly Zeus or Ray Lancer, then I'll definitely consider switching up the way that I play my deck so that I can fit these cards in. But as of right now, with the Unchained variant, I just can't fit much more into the extra deck. I mean, yeah, I can't fit much more into the extra deck, but I can fit more into the side deck. And what your side deck should be mostly non-engine board breakers or non-engine for matchups that you really hate. So that's why I think board breakers taking up most of my extra deck is not a big deal. And if I do go Ultimate Slayer, I think right now it's okay if I don't play a Synchro, but I think in the future I am going to want to play some kind of Synchro for Ultimate Slayer to be able to send in case I need to face off against like White Forest or something and they leave like Chaos Angel on the board and I can't out it for whatever reason. So that was my just current brainstorm of Goblin Biker. Again, the side deck, obviously it's over 15 cards. It's still a work in progress, but I think the main and the extra deck are almost there, like pretty much there. And I just need to mess around with a few ratios, see if certain cards like Boom Mock are still worth playing, like if I need to play them or if I can just deal without them, and to see how much I may like that second Clatter Splitter in the main deck. Other than that, this has been your boy Nistro here, signing out.